Hello and welcome to Life Talk Burrito. I'm Michelle Gunn. We're here with my host, Shreyas and our guest, Ira Bowman.
Morning, everybody.
Hello, hello everyone, and it's a pleasure to have you, Ira, with us. Ira, as we all know, runs Bowman Digital Media and a very important project Help You Grow to help prospective job seekers just to give them a nudge in the right direction. So welcome to the show, Ira.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So please go ahead and introduce yourself, what you do, and where you're from.
Sure. Um, I'm from the United States. It's funny because I've moved so many times, and we could talk about that for sure. Hello, good morning, everybody. I'm. You see me looking this way. I'm gonna try to jump on the LinkedIn Live so I can engage with people in the comments too. But I was born on the East Coast of the United States, but I didn't grow up there. I was only there till I was like 2 years old, and then my parents moved out to California. So I really grew up on the West Coast. I grew up kind of half time between Vegas and the Bay Area of California. That's my two homes. So right now I live in Southern California. I moved down here in December of 2019. I was in the print world, sales, selling printer equipment and print that itself. So two different worlds, but all related, encapsulated by print. In 2020, like a lot of people, I lost my job. So I moved down here for a job I thought I was going to retire with. Bought a home, told my wife and family we're never moving again. This is it, right? The job that I had in the Bay Area, it was a 2.5 hour commute to my sales territory from my home. So it was a lot of driving, and I was away from home basically some days from 5 in the morning to 8 at night, and I did that for 2.5 years. I just couldn't do it anymore. So I found a job where the job was relatively close. It was about 20 minutes away from my house, and so to me it was ideal. Um, so if it wasn't for that, I'd still be working there. However, COVID happened. So I started a company, and just is just a roundabout way of answering what I do now. Bowman Digital Media is my own business, right? I hung my own shingle and said, okay, let me do this thing. What do we do? We basically, if I have to summarize it in a nutshell, and we practice this on Tuesdays at my networking event, so I'm ready. We help people increase their sales by design. What does that mean? We create videos, we create artwork, we help them with their visual digital assets so that they can email folks and put it on their YouTube channels or put it on their social media pages, whatever they need to capture the attention and grow their business. So that's what I do professionally. I'm also a social media and sales coach via Bowman Coaching. That's at irabowman.com. And then the project that you referenced is really my first step into business ownership, although it's a philanthropy. I've never charged anybody a penny for it. It's always free. There's no ads or something like that. But that's Project Help You Grow. That really was the genesis of what most people on social media started to follow me, and like, who's this Ira Bowman guy, right? That's where most people started to recognize my name. So Project Help You Grow is still free, 100%. This projecthelpyougrow.com. And basically what it is, it's a platform where you go as a job seeker or a recruiter or an employer, and you learn about the job market. You can find candidates who are hiring. You can post your job listings. And again, you don't have to register for an account. You don't have to look at any ads. There's no pop-ups. No one's going to email you anything, because I'm the only one who sees your data, and I don't have time to bug you. Trust me. So Project Help You Grow really is about self-help. Now, there's a variety of ways. I write blogs for people so they can read about, like how to write a resume or how to interview prep, those types of things. The candidates can search out the recruiters on there, and the employers. The employers can post their jobs for free. The recruiters, it's interesting. Every platform charges recruiters to search through candidates and connect with them, right? Like they're charging them a fee. With Project Help to Grow, they can go. There's 10,000 candidates. Actually, there's more than 10,000 candidates on there right now that they can go through and do a smart search and figure out, hey, okay, I'm looking for somebody who knows Java in Italy, or I'm looking for somebody who speaks Russian in the United States, in New York City, whatever. They can drill down by skills, by genre of whatever industry they're in, and they can drill down and they can find it. So that's what it does. It's a very powerful tool. We get a lot of visitors. Sometimes we get over 2,000 visitors in a day. It's a big day for us.
Wow.
But every day there's hundreds of people that are on it. So I pretty much have done my part with it. I've got it set up and going, and we keep it running, and the rest is up to the people who use it. Whether they want to post their jobs, or they want to, post their resume, or they want to, do the videos. I have interviews that I've done. There's over 100 videos on Project Help You Grow where people can just watch and watch and watch. I used to do a show called Ask Ira's Job Seekers Q&A, and I did that twice a week for like 6 weeks. And so you can go and watch any of those episodes and get a lot of tips. You can watch my podcast on there and learn how to interview. So anyways, that's the project.
It sounds
So
great.
and it's truly international as well.
It's interesting. The hashtag has got 30, I don't know, I think it's 36,000 followers or something like that. And the company page, which again is just about, things that are happening in the project, that has like 23,000 followers. So my business page, Bowman Coaching, has like 5,000 followers. Bowman Digital Media has like 2,800 followers, and Project Help You Grow, which is nothing to do with business, charging, but it has, over 20,000. It is kind of comical, but I appreciate it. I appreciate the support. I appreciate all the people who have helped me along the way. A special shout out to my very first sponsor, which was Panna Knows. They're a recruiting company out of Pennsylvania, and she reached out to me, Kelly Robinson, who's the owner of Panna Knows. She reached out to me in, I think it was November 2019, and said, "Hey, we want to, give corporate support to Project Help You Grow to help cover the costs of running, because it costs me every month." And honestly, without that sponsorship, when I lost my job, I might have had to cancel Project Help You Grow, because I pay for it. I mean, I'm just being completely transparent. It's not free to the world. It's free to the world because Ira pays for it. That's what I'm trying to say. But Kelly Panna knows, she helped me. And then she had to stop her sponsorship in 2020. But then I picked up 2 more. You know what I mean? So she kind of set that example for others to follow. Like, if you want to support it, you can. But those people pay because they believe in what I'm doing, not because I'm charging it. You know what I mean? I'm thankful for that. My goal is, if I get enough sponsorships, that I will start an app. That would be the next thing. I can't afford to personally fund the app, because the apps are expensive. I don't know if people know that. It's more expensive to create an app than it is a website, and to run the app than it is a website, as it turns out. So I didn't know that 3 years ago when I got into it. I just had a friend at Dealers League that said, "Hey, I'll help you make a website." And I'm like, "Cool, man, that's awesome." So he made me this really cool website, and I'm excited about the journey of Project Help You Grow. Has been phenomenal. If you can't tell, it is my passion project for sure.
And I think this really resonates with what me and Michelle were talking about a little while earlier on our post, which was, when you choose to give and do it with the right intention, you get it back manifold. And I think your example and your story just exemplifies that fact. And you really hijacked our very first question, which I meant was to ask you, what was your biggest challenge? So let me tweak that a little bit and
Sure.
ask you this. So, has really COVID been very positive for you in a sense? It stopped you from moving across different states. And as a result of losing your job, you started Bowman Digital Media and Project Help You Grow, which is reaching out internationally, and many people are taking some full benefits out of it. So, do you think COVID really proved positive for you?
Well, Project Help You Grow was started in 2018, so it's been around for years now. So that's nothing to do with COVID. In fact, COVID made that difficult just because I wasn't sure I was going to be able to keep it going. That's actually one of the things that I was concerned about when I lost my job. So it is positive that I was able to keep it going. But COVID has been a blessing and a curse to my family. I lost my job. My wife got very sick. She got double pneumonia in COVID. 5 of the 8 people living in the house right now, because I have 8 children, 2 of my kids are out in college, but 5 of the 8 of us got COVID. So it was a challenge. 2020 was a year of overcoming challenges. We didn't ask for anybody's sympathy or anything like that. It's life. We didn't have anybody in our family pass away, and a lot of people did. So we're thankful. We don't feel like poor us. You know what I mean? But it was a challenge for sure. However, I love the way you phrase that question, because 100% we have been blessed in many ways through COVID and by COVID specifically. Um, I don't like to talk too much about my religious beliefs, but you know, that's a part of who I am. There was opportunities for us to serve the community this year through our church. We were able to do food programs. This is almost unheard of. I live in California. The city that we live in had a food distribution program, but they needed people to distribute the food. There's so many people that were starving. I mean, literally starving. They needed access to this food. So our church, because we volunteer in the community, they're like, "Hey, will you guys help be a part of this distribution network?" And we're like, "Sure." So what we did is we would go to the city building, and they had all the food in these bags, and we would take them. They would give us the addresses and stuff, and we would take and deliver them. Well, they let us. Now, remember, this is a city, a large city in California. Not exactly church friendly out here. I'm just going to say that. They let us we call them tracts. They're invitations to church. They've got some gospel stuff on the back, right? They let us put those tracts in the bags and distribute it. I mean, it was amazing. So we got to do our outreach, let people know about us, and also be a blessing to them. But we didn't have to pay for the food, which is a blessing, because we wouldn't have, if we were going to do something on our own, we wouldn't have been able to do it to the scale. So it's like a cooperative. That was super cool. Then also we were able to do a Christmas tree giveaway, which, Santa Claus and all that stuff is not a big part of what our church is about. However, again, community, people are broke. They couldn't afford Christmas trees. We gave them away for free. And I was able to be a part of that. In fact, Bowman Digital Media ties into that, because they're like, "Hey, you're a photographer. Will you I personally took the photos. Every single family that came, we provided, if they wanted, a family portrait for free. I took the photos, I did the Photoshop work, and then the church had them printed up, and we distributed them. That was a lot of fun. So we did some things for the community that I wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. And if COVID wasn't around, those things wouldn't have been necessary. So, anyways, professionally, Bowman Digital Media happened. I was not seeking to be a business owner this year. I was in the mindset, build my territory, build my relationships with people locally. I had started a group. Here's one of the negative things. I had started a group in my area. I live in the Inland Empire of Los Angeles. If you guys are watching and you're familiar with where that is, that's east of East LA. That's where I live. I live halfway to Palm Springs, right? But I'm still in the greater Los Angeles area. Okay. So that's where I live. I had started a networking group that I was very much looking forward to hosting, because if you can't tell, I like networking and I like getting to know people. And right. So I was going to start this in-person group that had a group on LinkedIn. So it was in-person and social media. I was going to tie the two together. But I had 5 locations at the companies, because the company I was working for had 5 offices in the Inland Empire. We were going to cycle through once each month to each location and incorporate everybody in the Inland Empire. Well, that didn't go, because in March we got the orders. We could no longer have meetings of, I think it was 50 people or more. You couldn't. Right. And then by the end of March, they pretty much canceled everything. So just as I was getting to start, my first meeting was supposed to be, I think, March 22nd, if I remember the date right. it's irrelevant. But anyways, it was the end of March. We weren't even able to have the first meeting, so that didn't go off. But anyway, so Bowman Digital Media launched. That was a huge blessing, and I was able to replace that income, which anybody who starts their business, that's the first thing you think about. How long can I sustain before I start to, break even? Well, I not only was breaking even right away, I was covering my income. You know what I mean? My paycheck.
Yes.
So I'm blessed because what I do has pretty low overhead. I didn't have to buy you know, $100,000 worth of equipment. I didn't have to go out and spend $1 million on a property. I was able to do it out of my home office. I did have to replace some of my equipment, right? But I
Mhm.
spent about $10,000. I didn't spend, 50,000 or 100,000 to get going. And then I was able to invoice right away because I built the network. So that's the power. It makes me giggle sometimes. People go, Ira, why would I want to build my network? Well, let me tell you, if I hadn't have built mine, I couldn't have done what I did.
Mhm.
They say, a lot of people say, you'll see it all over the place. Your net worth is your network, or your network is your net worth. And I don't think people quite understand it. But here's what it was. It wasn't that I sold to everybody in my network. What happened was I launched my business. People go, you know what? Ira's good at what he does, and he's a good guy. And I want to refer the people that I know to him. And so 100% of my business is pretty much referrals. I'm not selling to people I know most of the time. I'm selling to people that I know that they know. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like Michelle, you might say, hey, so and so, you need a new website? Ira could do that for you. And I've had a lot of that. Or, somebody's like not very good at social media and they have a business. Let's say they're a good accountant. And I have a couple of accountants who are clients. You go, I don't understand how social media works, but I know it's important for my business, but I don't want to do it. Well, you do it for me. And I tell them, well, I'll do your business social media for you, but not your personal. So I run business social media accounts for companies. I have about 20 clients that I do that for. Every month, I'm the one that posts for their company. I do the follow up, and there's a variety of packages that I offer. So it's not every service for every single person, but that takes some pressure off. When I was building my network, I had no idea that that was going to be my future business. I just wanted to learn how to do it for my printer sales and then also to help Project Help You Grow take off. And that's kind of why I studied it. But you said earlier that, if you do good things, you put in enough good things, then good things will come back to you. I truly believe that. I am taught that you reap what you sow. I know people say karma and there's different ways to express it, but we all, I think, agree on that principle. And I was sowing good seeds with the intent of just helping people. And as it turned out, I was laying a foundation for my own success and I didn't even realize it. But anyways, that's a long-winded answer, but I hope it encapsulated everything.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, you hit on a lot of things so far. A lot of challenges that you faced, a lot of things you've overcome. But if you could look back and just looking at your experience of losing your job and starting your business and your networking, what would you say was one real life lesson that you would want to share with people that you learned from this experience?
So it's scary. It is definitely scary. You feel this is what I learned. You feel like your employer and your paycheck is your life insurance. You really do.
Mhm.
You feel like I can rest assured that whatever they've promised you, $50,000 a year, $80,000 a year, $150,000 a year. Frankly, I've made all three of those salaries. That's why I spit those out. Okay. Whatever you're getting paid, all the benefits, all that stuff, you think that you can that's bedrock, but it's not. It's actually a slippery slope. It's sand that can be pulled out from under you at any time. So one of the things that I did, and I'm happy to share this, when I lost my job, my wife and my wife was not on board with me starting my business. It just in full disclosure. She's fully on board now. But at the moment I told her, okay, I'm not going to go find another job. I'm going to start my own company. And then I asked her to help me name it. But anyways, she was like, whoa, what? You know what I mean? There was a lot of trepidation, a lot of
Sure.
nerve, because like there's no guarantee it's going to work. And I said, it's funny. I actually see the salary now as a veneer. This is what I learned. They took that job. Look, I wasn't underperforming. I was performing at a high level. I had multiple 6-figure deals that were supposed to close at any second. So when my boss called me, I actually thought he was calling to congratulate me about some of the work I was doing. I had no clue that I was going to be furloughed, was the term that they used. And I was furloughed for the first month, which basically meant I had a job waiting for me, but I wasn't getting any money. I don't understand what that does to anybody, but that's what I was told. Your job will be here for you. And they even told me, 30 days we have you there. And 30 days later, instead of getting a call from my boss, I got a call from my boss's boss who told me I no longer had a job. I was like, okay, well, that's the first time in my life I've ever been fired. They didn't call it firing. They called it being laid off. But to me, it was the same thing. I didn't have a job. So the lesson that I learned was we're taught to count on that. And you can't count on that. I mean, I can't count on that. So instead of desiring to replace it with another job that I don't know if I can count on or not, because who knows? COVID's not over, folks.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, we don't know when this thing's going to be done. None of us has a crystal ball where we can look into the future and go, okay, well, in April of 2021, we're going to be back to normal. I don't think so. I don't think in April of 2021 we're going to be back to normal. In fact, I don't know that normal's coming back, honestly. Our new normal, whatever that's going to be, I don't think we're there yet. I think we'll get more of our freedom back than we have now, but we're restricted in a lot of ways. Anyways, my point with all that was I would rather bet on myself, even though that's scary. And when I set up Bowman Digital Media, this is a strategy that we could talk about a little bit further if you want, but my strategy was simple. I was no longer going to have one client giving me all my income. I set in a safety net. When I mapped out the philosophy and the strategy of Bowman Digital Media, I said, no one client is going to be more than 25% of my income. In fact, my second client asked me how much, because I had that conversation with them. They asked me, well, how much is that going to be, Ira? Because we want to sign you up for that much, whatever that is. They would have had me on full time, honestly. I could have had a job with them. But instead, I stuck to my belief, and I don't regret it. And I've had one customer so far that was a 25%er that I earned and then that I lost. Right? So here's the difference now. I'm still open. I still have income coming in. And that was the whole lesson learned. It's better to have your eggs in more than one basket. You guys have heard this before, but why is it with our incomes we don't do that? We trust one employer to be our sole bread earning, whatever, however you want to say that, right? But then if you lose that job, you're screwed. I don't have that fear anymore. So the fear was, the hard part was believing in myself that I could do it. But now I'm in a much more secure position. Could I lose multiple clients in a month? Yeah, I could. It's possible. But I'd have to lose them all to be in the same spot as losing my job. You see what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Like, even if I lost 50%, I'd rather have 50% of my clients and the ability to go out and still capture more than lose my complete job and then be out. You guys probably don't know because you're not job search experts, but in the job search market, the average job search pre-COVID-19 was 6.5 months. In other words, if you started to look for a job, you could expect on average it would take you 6.5 months to land a new job. That was pre-COVID-19. Well, guess what happened in COVID-19? The inventory, the supply of people looking for a job went through the roof, and the supply of jobs available went down. So you had much more supply and much less available, creating this huge, like in the home sales market, you would call it a seller's market, right? Because the people who have the jobs have all the power. That's the deal right now. So it's really hard to find a job. How long does it take on average? I don't know. The industry reports haven't come out yet, but I'm going to guess that it's at least double. So if you have a job and you lose it, I'm going to guess that it's going to take you a year on average to find a job. Now, does that mean everybody's going to take a year? No. Some people can find a job much faster. Well, some people also will take much longer. But this way, you know how long it takes me to find a client? About a week and a half. Every week and a half or so, I sign up a new client. So let's say I lose 50% of my clients. I lose 10 clients over the next couple weeks. Well, I can replace them theoretically in just, a few short months and be back at full strength and then back to growing. So anyways, that's what I learned. Hopefully that doesn't escape people, but you can set up your own LLC like I did and then be a consultant in it. I'm going to tell you, I was talking about fractional work before COVID-19 even started. The fractional work is like, to me, the new paradigm. That's where we're headed. What does that mean? That means instead of, working for somebody 40 hours a week and getting your benefits and all that stuff from one person, you might work for a company for 20 hours a week or 10 hours a week or, 20 hours a month. I have clients that pay me 5 hours a month. That doesn't sound like a lot, but they don't have to pay a lot either. But I could take, 10 of those and make a full-time paycheck, as it turns out. Now I'd still have to buy my own insurance, and there's some, but guess what? There are services out there that help you with all that. You don't have to do it yourself, right? But anyways, I think that's where the world is going, because healthcare is expensive, and a lot of employers would hire more people if they didn't have to cover that part of it. And the way they do it is by 1099 folks. You do 1099, you don't do full time. So I think, every state has different rules. Every country has different rules. So you have to follow your own local rules. But the fact is, it's much simpler. And they don't even have to, like, your taxes and stuff. They just give you a flat number and then you deal with all that because you're a business now. So you send them a W-9 and they say, well, I paid them $20,000, I paid them $50,000 for the year. And then, you file your taxes and take care of your state and federal taxes that way. So anyways, I think that's where it's headed. You didn't ask me that, but
that was a really great insight, and I certainly agree with the lesson you just shared to really understand where we need to put our eggs so that we don't just depend on a full-time job. The pandemic has clearly shown that you always have to expect the unexpected. But at the same time, there are some other amazing lessons that I personally learned from just listening to you. And if I can just take a moment to share,
yeah,
from what I hear you say, I really now know that law of attraction works. And if you have the right intentions and set your goal to achieve something and put your efforts, I think you will definitely be successful. And most people right now are looking at ways to be their own boss. So we have seen a surge in coaches, we have seen a surge in digital marketing strategists. So if you're really putting that intention to get the maximum out of this new wave of what you will call, like, creating your own space for a job or just being your own boss and doing whatever you like, I think that really is what will ensure you just come out of this challenging time and make a positive sense of the situation. So, having gone through all these positives and listening to you sharing these great lessons, is there, if at all, one thing that you'd like to change going ahead for this 2021 and beyond?
So 2020 was such an interesting year, right? I am one of those people who, I don't know if you can tell, but I plan stuff out. I map stuff out. I don't understand how people live without a strategy. And it's got to be written down, in my opinion, and you have to share it with somebody so you have accountability. So there's a few lessons that, I've learned along my life. I'm in my 40s now, so, I'm not a spring chicken. One of the things that I did differently for 2021, I've never done this before, and I will continue to do it moving forward. So I want to share it. I started doing my goal planning, goal setting sessions in November of 2020. And the reason why I did it was, so 2020, because I went into 2020, I started my job that I was fired from, laid off on December 30th, 2019. I went into 2020 with one professional goal: build my base, right? I needed to come because I'm coming to a new place. I'm in the sales territory, but I was taking over an existing territory that was doing pretty well. The guy that I replaced, he basically retired. It wasn't because, he wasn't making money and, they weren't happy. Good guy. In fact, he helped introduce me after I got here. He took me around a little bit and introduced me to some people, which I was extremely grateful for. I had actually met him before, because this was not the first time. It was actually the second time that I had worked for this company. I worked for them in Las Vegas, Nevada about 10 years ago. So they knew me and I knew them. And that's what made it that whole thing interesting. But I went into 2020 with the intention of that, right? So all my plans and stuff for 2020 were pretty much for business, were just to meet people, make sure they're happy, and make introductions. Most of my goals for 2020 were personal goals, right? My wife and I, because of another move, she wasn't necessarily on board with that change either. You know what I mean? We were on a rocky footing. So my goals in 2020 were personal. Be a better husband, be a better father, be a better man. Those kinds of things, right? Well, because 2020 happened the way it did, and I did accomplish those goals, by the way. My wife and I are in a much better place. I think I did a good job. But in 2021, I wanted, because I'd never gone into a year as a business owner. Bowman Digital Media didn't exist when I started 2020. So I didn't have any plans for it. So I thought, let me do this, because it's easy for me. Like, I like acronyms and I like symbolisms, or analogies. It helps me remember. So because it's 2021, I said, let me come up with 21 goals for 2021. You can call them resolutions if you want. I call them goals. So I said, okay, let me break that up. So I just started writing them. It worked out. I like symmetry. I did 14 business goals and 7 personal goals. So, that's the focus of 2021. The thing that I learned, that's a long answer again. I'm sorry. But the thing that I learned is, maybe if you start planning more sooner and get more detailed before the year even starts, what it allowed me to do was to, I hate to use the word pivot because it is being overused, but it allowed me to, like, okay, if this is where you're trying to get to in 2021, in December of 2020, I was able to start, like, it's almost like before you race, you stretch. I was able to start stretching to try to get in position to accomplish those goals. And I got to tell you, I've got one of my personal goals already accomplished and one of my professional goals already accomplished before 2021 really is even out of the gate. You hear people that they're not even trying for the resolutions anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've already got some of my checklist has already got a tick next to it. But I had never heard advice from anybody like start that early. In fact, I've heard the opposite from some people, like don't cut a year short because it's not over yet. Well, I didn't say that I stopped trying to achieve and accomplish my 2020 goals. I just said I started working on 2021 planning. But then I was able to, like I said, I was able to make some adjustments. And I think 2021 is going to be my best professional year ever. It started out that way, for sure. But a lot of that comes from, I had a solid plan. It was well thought out. I had run it by several people, like mentor people that I trust, to get feedback. And also now I have accountability partners because, well, you have my plans. You know what I mean? I was able to share it with my family, my personal goals with my wife, and, we're on board. So anyways, that maybe could help people. I hope.
Yeah. If we don't have goals, how do we know where we're going? We would get lost and just wander around aimlessly, personally and professionally.
I think people don't understand that you're allowed to course correct. You
Right.
should course correct, right? You get new data points and you make adjustments based on new data points. That's not retreating. That's just adjusting to reality. You plan for best case, worst case scenarios, and then usually something happens somewhere in the middle, and then you make adjustments for those, and you get better. And then one of the things I do try to tell people, like you hear this a lot, some people say, well, I bit off more than I could chew. It's like, okay, but there's a lesson learned there. So it's not a wasted opportunity. You either win or you learn, as long as you're, paying attention. So it's like sales forecasting is a skill. And when I first started in sales 25 years ago, I wasn't very good at it. But by now, I've done it 25 times. I'm much better at it. You know what I mean? And goal setting can be like that, as you do this. And honestly, that was one of the challenges for me in 2020, setting my goals for 2021. Like you wanted to have numbers, benchmarks that are easy to quantify. Well, a lot of my numbers are my best guesses, but I don't have that historical year-over-year data. Look, I had 20 years of print sales experience to use for quantifications on my sales objectives when I was still selling print. But now that I'm doing Bowman Digital Media, I still offer print concierge services for folks like print broker, right? You come to me and go, I want my car wrapped. Yeah, I can help you with it. I won't be the one printing it or installing it, but I can help you run that project. So like your project manager, and I can get you savings because I know what the prices are. I know what everybody pays to produce the print. That's my advantage. Plus, I have a lot of friends still in the print business, obviously. So that's my venture. So I still do offer that, but I don't have a print shop in my garage, or I'm not printing anything here. So
are there plans for that? And does your wife know?
probably not, because if I was going to do that, it would require a completely different business model. I would be doing things a lot different. I'm not on that track. So my long-term plans is to build out my digital tools. So more computers, more cameras, scanning equipment. I just bought a drone, and I've added that. I would like to actually maybe look into that a little bit more, but I'm building out my recording, what we call capture equipment. So like for right now, just an example, I have a teleprompter, I have microphones, I have lapel mics, I have 4K camera recording equipment, I have portable, microphones, and I have a giant green screen that I can take with me on set. I have soft lights for photography sessions. I have LED lights that I can make any color. So I have a bunch of capture things. There are even more things that I would like to get like that to improve the suite. But one of the things that you were talking about earlier was, there's a surge of people entering the coaching space and the digital marketing space. And I see that 100%. One of the things that I wanted to do, and a recommendation I would have for anyone who would like to follow me along this route, is to figure out two things. What do you really like and enjoy doing? Because if you follow your passion, it won't be work. I work very, very long hours, but I love what I do. Okay. But the second thing is, what do you do what are you the best at that would make you a little bit unique than everybody else? So one of the things that I focused on was the capture. For example, like I'm a digital artist. I've been creating graphics for well over a decade. Okay. So I'm good at that. No problem. I'm really good at social media stuff. No problem. The problem was, so are a lot of other people. You know what I mean? And frankly, I'm probably not the best at either. Honestly, I'd like to think I'm really good, but I'm not the best. But you know what? One thing I figured out early was I've been actually taking pictures and video longer than I've been doing digital graphics. So I said, why don't I incorporate that into my service of offerings for small and medium business owners who don't have access to, a bunch of different vendors already, established relationships anyways. Let them have somebody they trust who can do all that. I can take their headshots. I can do their branding photos. I can do promotional videos, as well as create their logo, design their website, manage their social media stuff. So I can put all that together. But the capture part was the part that I did that's a little bit different than what most digital media firms are doing. They're not going to come out and record your videos or do photography sessions for you, but I will. In fact, I want to, right? And it's on my menu. And that's the other thing that made me a little different. I have full transparency. You want to know how much it costs for any of my services, you go to bowmandigitalmedia.com/menu. That's hard to remember. And you can see all the services and all the prices. But the capture stuff is down there. The transparency stuff is on there. I did that to be different. Most digital media places, most social media management companies, you have to wait to get a quote. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But I charge the same price to everybody. It doesn't matter. So I just put it out there. And those things help make me different. So if you're trying to follow into that space, look for the things that make you different. Like, for example, you might speak another language. That could be a big advantage.
Mm-hmm.
My son is fluent in sign language. Now, he doesn't work for me. But if he was going into this space, that's one of the things that I would advertise the heck out of that. Like, if you have somebody who is deaf on your staff, especially if they're an owner or a departmental manager, and you want to communicate with a vendor, somebody who can, I don't know how to do it. Well, that's me. Well, my son can do it. You know what I mean? So maybe you have something like that. It could be anything, but find something that helps to make you unique, because that niche will help you grow more than just being a generalist. Specialists right now seem to be more in demand. So
yeah, that's great advice. I want to remind our audience, if you have any questions for Ira specifically, or also for me or Shreyas, drop them now so we can answer your questions. Ira has a wealth of information on obviously many topics like he shared. So now's a great time to ask your questions and get them answered.
I only know a lot about 3 things. If you ask me about anything else, I'm not very good.
Are you including family? Because remember, you have 8 kids.
Yeah, I have a wife who's awesome. I'm just gonna
Yes.
say that.
Yeah, definitely takes a partnership for sure.
Yeah, that's why I started 8 is Enough, the show 8 is Enough on Fridays, because I'm like, everybody thinks, I don't know what they think about me, honestly, but they always, I get a big reaction from wow, you have 8 kids. Like, yeah, I really do. But, honestly, for most of my career, my job has been to pay for life. And she's done the bulk of I've been the disciplinarian, and I do try to set a good example for my kids, and show them what a husband and a father is supposed to be. The way you communicate love to your kids is TIME. It's not
Right.
LE, it's time, right? So I do try to do that stuff. And, I've not been perfect by any stretch, but my wife, honestly, she does the yeoman's work. I'm the support staff for my wife. I'm our backup. You know what I mean? But that's actually one of the blessings too about being a business owner here. I'm working from my home, and I eat every meal now with my kids, which is a tremendous blessing. 2020, I had more family time in 2020 than probably the previous 5 years combined. And we're actually we're happy about it. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah,
sometimes family time can be grating because, but it was a blessing for our family. Like, we were, not a time. I mean, I'm not going to say there was no screaming, but
right. They're saying divorces were up in 2020 because people were spending too much time.
Yeah. Well, and let's couple that. Let's just be real. Let's couple that with the financial stress.
Right.
It's one thing when, you can tolerate somebody when they're earning a living and everything's good, but then all of a sudden they're not earning a living. And then what happens? They're probably depressed and insecure and all those things. And so you're not showing your best self to your spouse. You're showing really probably your worst, if we're being honest. And then you just throw in life's challenges. And, I believe the devil doesn't like marriage. I believe the devil wants to destroy marriages. Right. So, you have all that. And again, this isn't a religion thing. So, you take that at face value if you'd like, but you add all that together, and I'm not surprised. Divorce rates are 50% when times are great.
Right.
Times are awful, but I'm gonna tell you, if you don't want to get divorced, have 8 kids, because I've actually thought about this before. I couldn't afford child support. To be honest. It's hard enough to afford one home, let alone 2. When people think about it in pragmatic terms, like, think people would invest a little bit more. And honestly, the biggest advice I could give you if you're in a relationship, invest in it. Your time, your money.
Mm-hmm.
Show your significant other that you care. And it's not 50-50. It's 100-100. You don't put
Right.
50% in. You put in 100% of your effort into making your spouse happy, and don't worry about what they do. Don't say, well, she does this or he does that. I don't care. You do the best job you can do to be the best spouse that you can be. And just like everything else, the more you put into it with nothing but good intentions, then good will come back. I promise
Right.
you. And your relationship might be beyond repair at this point. I'm not your counselor. I'm just saying that if more people would do that, marriage divorce rates would go down, and happiness in marriage would go up. But we're taught it's 50-50. It's like, no, it's not. I can't control anything my wife does. I'm not her boss or whatever. You know what I mean? I can only control what I do. And I can try to figure out, this is another thing I learned. I read a book called The 5 Love Languages. You haven't read that?
Mm-hmm.
I totally recommend that book, because we all have different ways that we receive affection. Like, if
Yeah.
you do something for me, like if you tell me something, well, for some people, they're like, okay, what words are cheap? For some people, it's like acts of service. So I need to do things to show them that I love them, like wash their car, take the garbage out, get off the television at 9 o'clock and come talk to me. You know what I mean? Whatever it is. Could be, some people like gifts. Like, I got to buy you something, and it doesn't even have to be something expensive. It could be like a $2 flower at the grocery store. It's like, oh, I was thinking of you, and I saw that flower, and I went, you know what I mean? It could be different things. That book taught me that, and that has helped my marriage, because we have different love languages. I know it sounds silly to some people, like, what is he talking about, love language? What does that even mean? It just means the way I express love and the way I receive love is different than the way my wife expresses and receives. So what I learned to do,
Mm-hmm.
it's like learning a foreign language. I said, okay, if I want to show her that I love her, I need to do these things, not what I've been doing. And then she understands more that I do love her. I used to get this question from my wife all the time. "You love me?" It used to drive me nuts. Like, what do you mean? I've been with you for 21 years. We have 8 kids. What do you mean, do I love you? Like, I still, it would drive me nuts, but what I learned to hear it is not, I learned to hear it like, hey, I'm not secure in your love. That's what I
Mm-hmm.
learned to
Right.
hear. And so now it's like, my goal is to get her not to say that every day, but not because I don't want to hear it, but because she feels it, so she doesn't even have to ask.
Exactly. Awesome.
Marriage advice with Shreyas, Michele, and Ira. Coming to you every Tuesday, 10 o'clock.
We could do another show on relationships. Really, that's, I think, very much needed. So,
That would be really good.
I'm sure that was on your script, right? Ask Ira about how to communicate and save marriage.
yeah, it was. We just didn't convey that. Yeah. So, what is the legacy that Ira wants to leave behind?
That life is too short to be selfish. 100%. 100%.
That is the shortest thing you've said today.
I want people to stop being selfish, honestly. You know what I mean? Like, I look at the world, and it sometimes it disgusts me, because I can guess what motivates most people just by trying to figure out what would be best for them. And that's not always, I don't think that's even what should motivate any of us. I think we should worry about how to make the world a better place, how to make our neighbors better, and how to make our families better. Honestly, I think that's another reason why divorce is so high. Because
Yes.
people in it what's in it for me? And what
Right.
about, they get defensive. Like, when you say, okay, well, here's where you're weak or where you could improve. And instead of addressing that, they want to throw the stone back at you and go, well, you're not perfect either. I didn't say I was. You know what I mean? We could work on me too. We should. But you know what I mean? So my legacy, hopefully at the end of my life, will be that Ira helped a lot of people, and that he set a good example on how to live a selfless life. That's what I want.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I think this episode has been really justifying our title, the Life Talk Burrito, because we talked about family, we talked about jobs, we talked about business, we talked about setting intentions, our goals, and how we can turn around if we have the will to do it. and putting out the positivity into the universe so that we receive positivity in abundance. And many lessons learned for me personally. One thing that really stands out from what you said is to reach out to people, reach out to your mentors, your parents, or whoever you trust to give you wise counsel so
Yeah.
that whenever you make a new decision, you know the different perspectives to really look from and pick up the best. So I think that is one more key lesson that I personally learned. So, what about you, Michelle? Any closing thoughts?
Oh, I just always love chatting with Ira because there's so many topics that get covered and we all learn and share so much. And I'm just very grateful that you took time out of your busy, busy schedule to spend with us and to share with everyone. I'm very grateful. Thank you so much.
It's been my pleasure. We didn't talk about anything terribly complicated, so it's just my life. Hopefully people can unwrap the burrito and take what helps them.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So, how can one reach out to you if they need any of your services?
Yeah, so I'm pretty easy to find, right? So you can always find me on LinkedIn. I get paid to do social media, so I'm pretty much on social media all day, every day. If you're looking for coaching, you can go to my name is just irabowman.com. That's where you can get sales coaching and social media coaching. I do one-on-one sessions. If you need job search assistance, again, it's free, 100% free. I suggest you go to projecthelpyougrow.com or just type in your browser Project Help You Grow and it'll do the rest. LinkedIn, there's a Project Help You Grow page. I'm on LinkedIn, obviously, at Ira Bowman. So then my website is, if you need social media services or you need somebody to come, do photo or video work for you, design your website. You want coaching on how to, get your business up and off the ground. I offer that counseling as well. But just go to bowmandigitalmedia.com. That's how I make my living. Everything else is
Awesome.
pretty much free. I do charge for my coaching services only because there was so many people signing up for sessions, I couldn't keep up with them. So I had to start charging to filter. And so, but my pricing is fully transparent, just like on Bowman Digital Media. If you go to irabowman.com and book a session, it says right there how much it is. And so you can decide if it's worth investing in yourself. But I will say this just in closing. If you're trying to do something, anything, most people know what a mentor is. I want to teach you really quickly about this thing called informational interview. You find somebody who's a good husband or a good wife, if that's what you want to improve. You find somebody who's, a director of, a department like marketing director or sales director or something, whatever you're trying to achieve. Find somebody who has either done it or is doing it, and then ask them for 30 minutes. Invite, set your questions ahead of time. How did you do it? What advice would you give? If you had to start over today, what would you be doing? Is there anybody you could introduce me to that can help me? Those kinds of questions, but have them prepared. I would say treat them to coffee or lunch or dinner or something if you can, if you're in a place that's open. If not, send them a gift card to thank them for their time. But that information interview can change your life, can help you get from where you are to where you want to be so much faster. And guess what? If you do it right and you're respectful, the odds of them becoming your mentor they skyrocket. But it's called an informational interview. If you're not familiar with that and you want to learn more about it, I've written an article on projecthelpyougrow.com. You can read about how it works. But it's a free thing. I don't care what you want to do. You want to be an engineer, you want to be an architect, you want to be a business owner, you want to, like I said, you want to be a better spouse. You're about to be a homeowner for the first time. Talk to somebody who owns a home. Say, what do I need to know? Because you can learn. There's so many pitfalls you can avoid, and advantages that you could to take advantage, but you don't know them yet because you haven't lessons learned. You haven't made the mistakes, but this allows you to avoid some of those mistakes by utilizing someone else's experience. It's called informational interview, and hopefully that helps you.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all our viewers for joining us. Judith, with your great comments, we always appreciate you and your venture as well. the heart entrepreneur, of which Michelle is a part. So thank you, Ira. Thank you for sharing all those valuable tips, valuable lessons, and really justifying our title of the show. I think that is our biggest
It's been my pleasure.
positives from this episode.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Our pleasure. Have a great week, everyone.
Thank you.